All right, good morning and welcome to our channel, Princess Sit. We thank the Lord for bringing us into the dawn of another morning, and today being Sunday, it's a new week, the lead day in the week, the 28th of September 2025. Actually, this morning, I want to strike a balance on this much anticipated pioneer funds being released into the system as we've had in time. Like the fund now reportedly haven't entered the system, and the conversations across beneficiaries, leaders, and financial experts sometimes seems to be heated up in recent times. And the central concern is clear that with the release of such massive funds into the economy, spark inflation, or can it be managed in a way that creates growth, stability, and long-term impact? The issue is not new. Yes, for the record, the issue is not new. Yes, in global finance, any injection of large funds into a national economy actually raises debate. Economists often argue that money supply and inflation are closely tied together. What that means is that the more money circulating without matching productivity, the more likely prices will rise. But in this case, and this is where I'm going right now, in this case, the situation requires, I think it requires a balanced approach. The fear of inflation, is it really real? Those worried about inflation, they argue that once millions of beneficiaries start receiving their share of the Pioneer Fund, then there would be an immediate increase in purchasing power. But then demand for goods and services would also shoot up overnight. If supply cannot keep up with this sudden surge, then prices will rise sharply. And in simple terms, more money chasing fewer goods equals inflation. Inflation has a way it weakens the value of money. It affects savings and also makes essential commodities harder to afford. And for a country like Nigeria, which already struggles with high food inflation, forex stabilities or instabilities in the forex system, and unemployment, any uncontrolled injection of funds could actually worsen these challenges. And the critics now that we have argue that while the intention behind the fund is noble, the implementation must be carefully managed to avoid creating another economic problem. Now, but I want to really enter into the balanced approach now. What that means, the productive engagement of the fund. Let's see it in another perspective. On the other hand, there is a more hopeful and practical argument to this. Money in itself is not a problem. It is how money is being used that determines the outcome. For instance, if beneficiaries simply receive their share and also spend it recklessly on imported goods or consumption alone, then yes, you can talk about their fear being realized. Inflation would quickly rise. But if the funds are directed into projects, if the funds are directed into business expansions, into agriculture, housing, manufacturing, healthcare system, education, infrastructure, then I think the money begins to circulate back into the system in a productive way. So when funds are tied to projects that create jobs and essential facilities, the effect is not just spending alone, it becomes an investment. And in this way, this is where the win-win approach comes in, actually. For example, imagine thousands of beneficiaries using their share to set up some small businesses, farms or manufacturing hubs. These ventures would not only absorb the funds, but also create new goods and services, for the society. So the supply side of the economy would be strengthened, which now had to balance out the increased demand. And in this way, the fear of inflation reduces because the system can now absorb the money through productivity and all of those new install cases that have been injected into the system. Now, the role of Obasanjo and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala also really had a pivotal means in all of this issue. It's important to note the figures backing this fund distribution. As we understood that the former president Olusegun Obasanjo and Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the current Director General of the World Trade Organization and Nigeria's former Minister of Finance, the two of them are not ordinary names in economic and also in governance history. Now, Obasanjo, during his presidency time, oversaw Nigeria's debt relief with international creditors, and which stabilized the economy at that time. Then Okonjo-Iweala is an internationally recognized economist with years of experience at the World Bank, and she also played a leading role in Nigeria's economic reforms during her tenure. Now, if such experienced figures, if they support the distribution of these funds, it only suggests to me that they understand the risks and also the mechanisms that is needed to manage them. Their involvement in this scheme actually gives credibility and assurance that the disbursement plan has been studied and structured in such a way that is in line with the economic realities. And so they are aware of the dangers of inflation. But they are also aware and they are also in the know that the potential for massive transformation, if handled properly, can come in. Now, while the experts begin to debate on inflation and management strategies, the reality on the ground is that beneficiaries are tired. They are tired. All the back and forth explanations, the postponements, the uncertainties, they've created frustrations for the masses. Many of them have been waiting for months, for years, going to decades, some even years, a lot of years, with the expectation of life-changing financial support. So the continuous delays have not only caused emotional stress, but it has caused also financial strain, as people have planned their lives, their businesses, their responsibilities around the promise of these funds. And at this stage, currently, right now, at this stage, what I think beneficiaries want is simple. They want the money to be shared. They want the money to be distributed without further excuses. It's also important to note that the social contract between the fund managers and the beneficiaries is at stake. Now, promises must be honored. Faith, trust in the process, in the system, depends on transparency and timely execution of all these actions. Now, going forward, reports that the IMF officials have landed to oversee or support the distribution or the disbursement raises some expectations, and it makes it even higher. Now, the presence is a signal of seriousness and international oversight functions, which could prevent mismanagement in the system. However, it also puts pressure on the system to really act fast and within the stated time frame of the 4 days that was agreed and signed into the system and the scheme. The 4-day ultimatum is now critical. If disbursement begins within the period, confidence will be restored, and the narrative will shift now from the doubt to the relief and also to the hope. But if another delay occurs, the credibility of the entire operation is going to collapse, and it's going to create disappointment and potentially unrest among the waiting beneficiaries. Now, I think a win-win approach here is possible. At this point, the conversation should not just be about whether the fund is going to cause inflation. It should also be about how to manage the process to ensure that there is a win-win outcome. And I feel like there are some important approaches to this. I feel strongly that there should be a mandatory investment channels, encouragement a kind of encourage or a kind of the beneficiaries or the expectant beneficiaries should be encouraged or required a percentage of the funds to go into productive sectors like what we've been saying before, the agriculture, the housing, the manufacturing systems. This would definitely ensure that the money flows into development rather than just consumption. So there should be mandatory investment channels upon the reception of these funds. Then there should also be an enforcement of monitoring and support, a kind of a production or providence of training and monitoring for beneficiaries so that they can use their funds so wisely. A cash-only disbursement without guidance may definitely lead to waste, but structured support can multiply the impact. Then there should be transparency and accountability. Regular updates on how much has been released, how it is being used, and what impact is it creating within the ecosystem is going to build trust and confidence. Then the collaboration with banks and cooperatives also should be encouraged. Now, if beneficiaries engage bank and cooperatives to manage their funds, it keeps the money within the financial system and supports lending, investment, and circulation. Now, finally, to all of these submissions, the Pioneer Fund that is entering the system is both an opportunity and also a risk. Yes, inflation is a genuine concern, but it is not a guaranteed outcome. The real determining factor here will be how the funds are used and how they are managed. If it is directed into meaningful projects, businesses, and facilities, the system can absorb the fund, the money, creating jobs, creating infrastructures, and also long-term benefits for the economy. And with experienced figures like the duo that we mentioned, Obasanjo and Ngozi Okonjo, backing the process, I think there is a reason to believe that the risks have been considered in the first place. But the most urgent matter right now is even action. Beneficiaries are tired, like I said, they are tired of waiting. They are tired of waiting. They want the funds to be released within the 4-day ultimatum as was promised them, and they deserve nothing less. They actually deserve nothing less than that. Ultimately, this is a defining moment. If it is handled right, the Pioneer Fund could be remembered as one of the greatest economic interventions in Nigeria's history. And if it is mishandled, it could also go down as a missed opportunity that worsened inflation and distrust because of the large fund that is in circulation, as was said. But the choice is now in the hands of those who control the process. And I think the time to act is now. Yes, the real time to act is now. So I want us to consider all of these trivialities and actions. It is not about just the fund in circulation. So inflation is real. Is it really real? We should put in a balanced approach to this and know that the essence of the fund is to develop the community and also foster growth. So why should you say once it gets into the hands of few individuals, inflation will rise? But once it's in their hands, don't they have all of these things in their hands? When they corner, they loot the treasury, they loot the economy of the nation, and inflation wasn't rising? So this thing should be looked into holistically, because this is exactly where the deal is coming from. I think this is my submission, and I feel strongly you have a part to play. Share this particular information. Let's get to all and sundry. Let people have the knowledge. Let them have understanding of what is actually going on and what we're supposed to do going forward. The fund is tied to infrastructure, to development and growth, and so should it be done. Thank you very much. This is Prince's It, and in case you're new, do subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you don't miss out on vital update. We love you, and we would always be on the side of the masses. We are standing strong today because the Lord has been faithful to us in everything. We're wrapping up our September with a promise, and the promise is such that you would not end September in vain. There's going to be a massive turnout of wealth that is going to visit you in a short while. So go to church today. Thank God for what He has done. Thank God for how far He has led us. Thank God for where He's leading us to. Thank God for His mercies endures forever. And lines are falling onto us in pleasant places. Yea, we have a goodly heritage. We're drawing the curtain for this morning commentary, and we'll soon come your way again by God's grace. But we need to go to church and serve God right now, to come back in the evening and continue with all our updates. Thank you very much, and I wish you a wonderful and blissful day. God bless you. Bye for now.